to these fascinating stories before the U.S. Supreme Court this week. They're hearing a case on whether or not tech companies like Google and Twitter can be held liable for hosting content posted by ISIS, among others. The case has broad implications for protected speech on social media. It appears, however, to be confusing to some of the justices who, in their own words, are not experts on the internet. They're going to have to read up quickly. Jonathan Turley with me, sir. Nice to see you, Professor, and good day to you. Let me set up case number one that was argued yesterday. Then we'll go to case number two. They have similarities, I guess, on the merits. So yesterday, a 23-year-old American woman, they brought this suit against Google, okay? In effect, they believe that YouTube, owned by Google, served as a siren call on behalf of ISIS fighters. So this woman was killed in Paris in 2015. They're saying that Google should limit the ability of the algorithm for actors like ISIS to participate on their channel. On the face of it, it sounds reasonable, but you've got this Section 230 clause that has helped protect these media companies for 25 years. How do you see it going?
Well, as you've noted, the Supreme Court found much of this to be a bit confusing, and I'm somewhat sympathetic. They're my contemporaries, but at points the argument sounded like they were trying to get these younger lawyers to set their VCR. You know, there's obviously a lot of technical aspects to how these algorithms work, and in some degree, I think the court was inclined to support the companies because this is something that Congress should look at as opposed to 9 justices who have fleeting knowledge of the internet. The problem for the free speech community is that we're not used to supporting these companies. These companies have an awful record of censorship. And many of us have called for Congress to tweak Section 230. So if they want immunity under this law, they have to stop being editors. I mean, the problem is that they're making biased decisions while claiming that they're really still a neutral platform. The problem with this case is that it would cut in the other direction from the free speech claims. That is, if they have liability in this case, they're more likely to ramp up that censorship. So it's a rather odd case for the usual parties in these disputes between these companies and the free speech community, which I often associate with.
Okay, so there's another case being heard right now that involves Twitter. And this is a 2017 case where ISIS led an attack in 2017, and this individual was killed. So they're going to hear that today. I don't know if Section 230 is exactly applied the same way that they argued yesterday. But I think one of the justices said yesterday, if we remove Section 230, then there could be an avalanche of lawsuits against these companies. Is that a justifiable reason to keep it in place and kick it to Congress?
It is. That is, the motivation for Section 230 was to allow the internet to flourish. You know, these are sites that are really our new telephone company, you know, that people use social media now as their principal form of communication. And what these companies said is, look, we're like the telephone company. We're these platforms that people use to communicate, but we don't want to get sued every time a third party puts something that's defamatory or wrong-headed or derogatory. And so Congress agreed and said, well, since you are just supplying the platform, we'll give you this protection. The original purpose of the section was good. The problem is that the companies then started to do exactly what they said they weren't going to do. They started to be editors. They started to ban people who took positions against the company's views on COVID, elections, gender issues. And so they're no longer those neutral platforms that they sold to Congress.
Don't know how it's going to turn out, but appreciate the analysis, and we'll see what arguments we get today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bill.
Jonathan Turley. Dana.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.